Hey everyone, I'm Fox with FoxeoGames, and this is the Logitech G900 Chaos Spectrum. As of the release of this review, this is Logitech's most recent addition to the world of high-end gaming mice. The big selling point here is that it's a wireless mouse that allegedly has better response times than equivalent wired mice. That's Logitech's claim to fame for this mouse, but it has a lot of other things to boast about, so let's get started. First, let's cover the appearance of the mouse. For some, this is irrelevant, but for others, aesthetics is a big deal. Fortunately, the G900 Chaos Spectrum has a very sleek, high-tech design. It looks the part of a high-end gaming mouse. A top-down view reveals that the two top buttons slope downward into the middle of the mouse, but this is not something you'll feel. A simple yet bold appearance, it has a symmetrical build that you would expect from an ambidextrous design. There are four little vertical slot-like LEDs in the middle of the mouse used for showing your DPI as well as the battery level of the mouse. On the base is a see-through Logitech letter G logo complete with LED lighting. The sides are slightly grooved yet smooth feeling. The mouse features a variety of buttons, and how you count them depends on what you consider a button. In the very center is a toggle button for switching the scroll wheel between smooth scrolling and notched scrolling. You can click the scroll wheel itself as well as the standard left and right mouse buttons. There are two side buttons mapped by default to forward and backward, useful for web browsing. I can never comfortably reach the forward button on mice like these, so I typically don't use those features at all. In the center are two buttons for switching the DPI level up or down with matching LED light indicators. Interestingly enough, you can also rock the scroll wheel right or left to scroll right or left, which is actually a really cool feature that I had no idea existed until I accidentally activated it. The mouse is fully ambidextrous, so you can actually remove the side buttons from the left and move them to the right. It also includes a plate to put over the slot where you move the buttons from. You can also simply add two right side buttons and use them as two additional input buttons, but that placement seemed quite inconvenient to me personally. The mouse is very lightweight, and to be honest, it's a little too light for my taste. Given the steep price of the mouse, it would have been nice to have removable weights like the G500S. For those that don't know, some higher-end mice will allow you to insert or remove a handful of little tiny weights. This is nice because you can customize the weight to your liking. The G900 Chaos Spectrum does not allow any customization of the weight, and it feels way too light in my opinion. Because of the wireless functionality, the bottom includes an on-off switch complete with red and green colored indicators. And I'm no expert on mouse sensors, but I've used a lot of mice in my day, including a handful of higher-end mice. I will say that from the time I've spent using this mouse for daily tasks in gaming, the sensor seems to be absolutely top-notch. I never had a problem getting very smooth and accurate cursor movement, and it worked on both my desk and cloth mousepad. I did not test it on any other surfaces, as these are the only two I really use. The included software lets you calibrate it to your specific surface, which I never bothered doing. Speaking of the software, it's typical of what you would expect. You can upgrade the firmware, play around with the color and style of LED lighting, bind different functions to the buttons, set the default DPI and DPI presets, check power consumption and battery level, and switch profiles for specific games or applications. I turned the logo LED off to save on the battery since my palm is covering it most of the time anyway. The software also features a heat map, but I've never felt the need to mess with those, so I don't like unnecessary stuff running in the background on my PC, so after turning off the logo, I did kind of want to turn off the entire thing and shut down the program. However, it seemed to lose my custom DPI settings, so now I just leave the Logitech software running at all times. It doesn't seem to use too much on the system resources side, but it would have been nice had the mouse just remembered my DPI settings. Maybe I don't know exactly how that works, but like I said, every time I actually shut the software down, it seemed to fall back to the default DPI settings before I actually changed it in the software. From fully charged to drained, the battery is supposed to last just over 30 hours with all of the LEDs turned off. With them on, it's supposed to be over 20 hours of use. As long as you charge it every so often, you should never run out of juice on this thing. On top of that, you can still use the mouse wired if you want to. The micro USB cable hooks into the very front of the mouse, making it feel like a standard wired mouse. In fact, it becomes a standard wired mouse. Once you plug in the micro USB cable, it ceases to recognize the wireless connection and it goes instead to a separate USB connection. And once you disconnect the USB cable, it changes from USB connection to the wireless. So it actually switches. This is not just a charging cable. And now I've been saving the best for last, at least what I consider the best, and that is the accuracy of the mouse. I love the feel, I love how accurate it is, I love the wireless convenience, and the long battery life is super convenient. But you know what I like the most? The clicking. I never realized how much better the mouse button clicks could be. Going back to the G500S, which is a great mouse, and clicking around for a while has shown me just how nice the click functionality on the G900 is. It's almost, not quite, but almost as stark a contrast as going from a membrane keyboard to a mechanical keyboard. But again, it's not quite that extreme. I will say that the Chaos Spectrum has the nicest, most satisfying click I've ever experienced. It's powerful, it's consistent, and it provides really positive physical feedback. This mouse really lets you know that you're clicking, and now that I've used this one, most other mice feel just a bit mushy in comparison. Up until now, the most satisfying click on a mouse for me was actually the Rat7, a very modular mouse that has a unique look and expensive price tag. Well, the Click King has been dethroned and the G900 Chaos Spectrum now reigns supreme. While it is a wireless mouse, you wouldn't know it from the performance. There is absolutely no perceivable lag for me. Notice I said perceivable. Response times seem to be just as accurate as my wired G500S. Again, I'm no expert in testing mouse response times, but whether using it for daily tasks or for gaming, in Twitch gaming and very precise first-person shooters, I can't tell one single bit of difference between this and my other wired mice. There is, of course, one big downside to this mouse, and it's the only downside you could possibly have on a very high-quality, high-end, well-designed wireless gaming mouse. It's the price. At $150 MSRP new, this is one expensive mouse. It is the most I've ever paid for a single mouse, and the next highest price I've ever paid was for the Rat7 at $100. So what's the verdict? Is the G900 Chaos Spectrum worth the steep $150 price tag? Well, in my opinion, for me personally, it is, but just barely. Because it's a little expensive. While it's a lot of money to spend on a computer mouse, the G900 Chaos Spectrum features stellar design, a quality build, and a customizable ambidextrous design, which, of course, isn't really useful to me because I never use it left-handed, but it also has LED lighting, an amazing sensor, a comfortable grip most of the time, and the best click of any mouse I've ever used. Again, another slight downside is that the smoothness of the sides means that occasionally my grip will slip ever so slightly on the mouse, but not enough to be a big deal. The fact that it's wireless is just one more convenience factor, as now I don't need to worry about the cord getting caught up or dragging on a surface. I don't think the price is that unreasonable, although I do expect it to drop a bit after the initial novelty of the release has worn off. The only complaint I can really offer is that for $150, it should really come with customizable weights. If you're in the market for a nice gaming mouse and wanted to go wireless and you don't mind paying a premium price, you might want to consider the Logitech G900 Chaos Spectrum. Or you could wait for sale or for a drop in price. So, have you used this mouse? And if so, what are your thoughts on it? Is it worth the $150 MSRP new? Let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe and check the video description for links to my Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and all that other good stuff. You can give the video a rating on your way out too if you like. You could like it or dislike it. I'm fine with either one, although I kind of prefer you like it. I'm Fox with FoxeoGames, and I'll see you guys next time.